Welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Deveji, your host. I'm welcoming you episode 159 in the American Business Podcast. Today we have a special edition, roundtable discussion. Before further ado, let me invite our guest to our virtual stage and let's get the discussion started. All right, looks great. Let's prepare our screen. All right, let's see. Everyone is on the screen. All right, let's do this. All right, I think looking good. Hello. Welcome to the American Business Podcast, the roundtable discussion.
Hi.
Great.
Thanks for inviting us.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having us.
Of course. Hello, David. Hello, Joe. Hello, Anthony. Welcome to this special edition. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having
Well,
us.
if that's okay, let's get the conversation started. Well, one of the popular subjects in American business podcasts is AI and AI for business, especially nowadays because AI is very advantageous for small and mid-sized businesses. AI becomes more important because that's an opportunity right now for small businesses to revolutionize their business models and without breaking the bank. It's affordable. AI is affordable, accessible, practical, and it makes a lot of sense for American small businesses. Well, from this point of view, I like to start by getting your take. What is your take on AI for business and how small businesses can take advantage, benefit from AI and AI's capabilities? All right, great. Well, David,
Yeah, I
Not
get
everybody
it.
at once.
What is it? What does AI stand for again?
Yeah.
Usually the technical guys hop in and take control of the conversation. So I'm going to hop in here as the one non-technical guy on the panel here. And as a small business, we use AI for a number of things. I see it's a great help to take care of those mundane tasks that maybe you have to do every day that take time. And it helps shuffle some of that stuff around and makes it a lot easier for you to do. We use it all the time here at Pupfish for presentations, maybe not to do the whole presentation, but maybe to start us on an outline that we can work with. We'll use it for technical capabilities, to take care of any technical issues that we may have questions about. It's easy to reach out and do an AI query to see, what they come up with. But we are looking into the future for other possibilities for AI. One of the things that we would use it for is, say, we have our degausser, right, which can do 1,300 drives an hour. But we can't keep up with that and record the data that quickly. But there are cameras now that can take good quality pictures of the devices it's going by on the conveyor belt. And then do some OCR on it and record the make, model, and the serial number, which is what we have to do. So, that gives us the opportunity now to go on site for these big jobs and take care of all the work all at once. So, although that's not in place yet, it's certainly something where AI can help us. And that's what we use it for.
Right.
sounds great. How about you, Anthony? What is your take on AI and AI for small businesses in the US and
Well,
globally? Yes.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. We first started internally, all right, just to automate some of our own processes and so on. The guys are trying to automate me. I don't know if that's going to be possible yet because I think a lot different than a computer. But the things we've developed bots within. So in each department, we have something called Jarvis that we created, which basically works with Slack. That depending on the department they're in, they can just ask Jarvis within Slack, questions and so on. It's all secure. We make sure it passes all the muster that Joe would put us through. So they have that going on. So basically, it allows us through APIs and everything to connect securely to our databases. And so we can find out, even if we get the phone rings, for example, it comes up with the entire information about that client for us. at least the pertinent information about it. So we have it at fingertips. The other thing too is if it's something that's coming in off the SEO, the website or whatever, it looks that company up for us, so we have an inkling of who they are and so on. Pick up the phone intelligently. We also created outbound bots that can make phone calls and so on. We're just testing them right now internally. It's very interesting. We had created another one called Megan, which is making phone calls right now and it's trying some things out. And I'm working on somebody called Callie right now, which is going to be a very fun bot and it's going to be enjoyable. I would want to hear it. All right, because I'm developing this, so it's a lot of fun projects we're doing right now. But we're finding increased efficiency now in every department. I mean, we're working now so much better and leaner. We could take on more clients without having to hire staff now. So that's what it's all about. Joe, you could probably chime in on this.
Well, first of all, I think you're mistaking automating with cloning. I think they want to clone you. That's what they are.
No, they don't want more of me.
And when you said
they
Megan,
want something they get shut off.
And when you said Megan, I'm thinking of the movie That Doll that was automated. So I don't know.
That's exactly the movie. They named it after that.
Yes, I realized that. From a cybersecurity standpoint, and I think that the way that Anthony and Dave use AI is fantastic. We're using it in a couple different ways in our company. From my perspective, since I'm not the one doing the coding and the penetration testing and the SOC work for our clients, I'm using more of the informational piece. But as I tell everybody when I do my trainings, is that you can use it for informational, as I'm ghosting on the screen, but you should also verify the information. There's a lot of misinformation that might be coming from it because there's different AI tools out there. So it's great. I mean, I use it because sometimes, I have a brain fart and I need to say, hey, what was it that thought I was thinking about? Kind of pull it together. But also from the technology side, it's being used to really do a lot of threat detection. It's trying to keep up AI with AI for the hackers that are out there. So it really is a very beneficial tool if it's being used for good and the right way. That it could be used in all these cases and really be productive for everybody's business.
Yes, and actually, I like to also shift the conversation towards security a little bit, which is very important, right? And actually, I had a meeting earlier today, and one of the prospects asking us about how to use AI, especially to compare price. And they have e-commerce services. They are selling widgets. So they were asking us how to utilize AI, ChatGPT, and others to search for competitors' pricing and compare it to theirs, for example, in terms of competitive advantage and where they are. So, well, the challenge here is, of course, just as soon as they put their information out there in ChatGPT or another LLM, then it's just out there, right? Hey, this is my pricing, these are my products. Can you compare it with competitors? That's where they were going fundamentally. So we were like, wait a second, where does it go? And how long is it going to stay?
Now the world has their information.
So the importance of the security. So what is your take on this? Yes.
Yeah, I'll start on this one. So I'm, I know we're all big on security as far as using AI. I actually just came back from doing a training for a school district, and I tell them, listen, you shouldn't be using you should not be using open AI at schools. Putting in that student information, putting in any information, you're putting in open AI, it's out there. Don't do that. A lot of times then people ask, well, what can I use? I would recommend using whatever is in your security ecosystem. There's certain procedures. There needs to be a policy around how you can be used and what can be used and what kind of information put in. Humans are very visual creatures and they need to have that structure. Also, from my audit risk and compliance background, I mean, I've been seeing all these audit internal control frameworks around AI that are coming out there, and they're all basically the same. It's about access controls and configurations, and it's all really based on the governance and all that kind of stuff. And even if you just implement some of these controls, it will help you with your security around the AI in your business. You know, and just quite honestly, you just want to make sure that everybody is aware with the training that there are data privacy laws, whether or not there are AI regulations out there. I don't separate the two. I don't care that there's no AI regulation out there as far as what you should be putting in, what you should not should be putting into it. It still falls under data privacy laws, and people have to understand that it still falls under data privacy laws that are state by state and federal government, and not think of it as a separate entity in that respect.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You can't just put stuff into ChatGPT, for example, that's kids' information, health information, and so on. You got to be very cognizant of that. Is that because it's like going out to the world. Once you've put something in there, it's out.
Right.
So from a data privacy standpoint, it's extremely important.
Yeah, we use it to look up general basic information here, you know, never anything specific to anybody here or to our company, just for that purpose. And, you know, the requirement to protect that is so strict. And like Joe said, as soon as you do get out there and you start to cross state lines, every state has their own laws. And, you know, we had an attorney on a panel once, and he said, you know, one state may require you to produce some information that maybe you don't want to produce. But once you've produced it out of that one state, every other state has access to that information, and it becomes a real legal nightmare. So the best thing to do is to make sure you're taking some strict compliance with how you handle that data and what you do put out there on your open AI.
Yeah, and just to follow up on this, there was a real world example of another IT firm that I was talking to the other day, who was working with a potential law firm client, and the law firm said they were putting information on some of their legal documents into Claude AI, and literally within 5 minutes, the IT person did a Google search and found that entire document on the web. So this is where we need to be very careful. People don't realize it's out there. There's no closed environment with a lot of these open AI tools.
Wow.
That's scary.
Yeah.
At the same time, that's a great point. That's a great point. Okay, well, good. Okay, so from your point of view, recently in the American Business Podcast, we start talk about two subjects. One of them is the best marketing practices. Other one is the best leadership practices. So, from your point of view, let's dive deeper. Which one would you like to dive in first, leadership or marketing practices in general?
Let's do marketing.
Let's do marketing. All right.
Marketing for 100, Alex.
Okay. There you go. What is?
Okay. So, from your point of view, especially with the recent developments in technology as well as your industry and your experience in general, what are the best marketing practices that you will say will be the great for small businesses to consider implementing?
Ooh,
Well,
that's a good.
yeah.
Go ahead, Anthony. You go first, please.
It depends on the business and what their objectives are. But if it's a standard, telemarketing calls and so on like that, you can have bots make the calls. I mean, and so on. But like we have a bot that calls just to confirm and strengthen the contacts we have. To verify a guy's been retired, nobody's there anymore, somebody else took over. The bot's smart enough to do that. It makes the call. It just freshens the lead for us. All right, that's one aspect from the marketing aspect. And from a social media aspect, the posts and so on, it can generate posts for us and find content for us. I mean, I have a morning thing I wrote. Actually, I didn't even write it. I had AI write it for me, and I created a Power BI scripts and so on that gives me a synopsis, like a daily report of all the cyber incidents that happened today, with what is going on within my company as far as like posts we did, also from a standpoint, an industry standpoint, what's going on in the industry. And then if it wants me to generate a post for the information of the day, it will. That can be now put up and sent over to marketing. We also have a marketing bot in the morning. We have 5 guys, 5 people, 5 synthetics that meet every morning before the day starts, that communicate, will actually have meetings, talk to one another, and then give us some marketing content that gives for my real person, marketing director Sam. So
That's cool. Well, how is the feedback you get from the market when you utilize the AI agents, AI employees, AI bots?
it's some of them very like get hang-ups. Some of them are very funny because we record all these. And we get to the point now is that the bot I'm creating, Callie, is going to right now, right off the bat, say it's an AI bot, and it's going to be a very cute interaction. All right, because if somebody like that called me, I would want to stay on the phone just for a little bit to test the thing out. So I'm making it fun. All right, so we're going to see from a marketing standpoint how that goes.
I would say, Dave, you can go first, and then I'll jump in.
You sure, Joe?
Yeah, no, go right ahead, please.
All right. I'm afraid to let you go because you leave me with 10 seconds at the end.
I don't leave you with that much time.
So, from our point of view, we're more traditional in our marketing. Most of our work comes from referrals. So we're out there doing, the networking, meeting companies that are great. We do, and they can refer our services, and the fact that they do refer have close to a 100% there for a second.
Yeah, I think you're starting to look like an AI bot.
Yeah.
Maybe I am.
You know what? We might all be. We're in the matrix.
You could.
And
be
then
in a
the other approach
simulation,
to
you never know.
the other approach to marketing is just getting our name out there through the various media. So we do post on some of the social media accounts, the business media accounts. We do podcasts like Kevin's, which get us a broad, great audience. So that's kind of how we handle it. We will target certain groups if that's something we want to focus on. But really, a lot of our work is the education. So we'll do panels, together. The three of us have done panels together, Anthony, Joe, and I, and others, because a lot of what we do is just educating customers what we do, how we do it, why it's so important, and the fact that there's even a company like Pupfish out there to do what they need to do. Because a lot of people just throw it into a closet and they forget about it and hope they won't have to deal with it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go off with Dave, especially the panels. I love going to the panels with Dave and Anthony. I think they're very knowledgeable. They're very good at what they do. Education is really the key a lot of times out there because it's always changing. It's very, cybersecurity is an ever-changing, quickly changing field of what's going on out there. There's new threats every day, and it's hard to keep up with it. But now we're doing a lot more panels on AI and stuff like that. From a marketing perspective, besides for the education, the networking, like Dave said, you want partnerships, especially in a region like Long Island. It's partnership is very, very important. And also, the podcasts are great. I think that and every business can be different, and we think that like for cybersecurity podcasts would be great to do. Some other businesses may not be so great. We're also sending out a lot from Circle Boom. We use that, and we send out articles based on the industries that we work with. So we're always sending out things about education, we're sending things about law firms, about accounting firms, things that they really need to know, and they're not hearing on the mainstream. So if they're following anything that we do and they're following our pages on, let's say we do a lot of LinkedIn posts. I do a lot of the personal LinkedIn posts for Stetson, and then we also have the Circle Boom doing the automated ones. So if we're doing panels, I'll put it out there myself. I'm not unlike Anthony, who was smart to do so and to use AI. I'm not using AI to write any of my stuff. I've just so conditioned to write things over the last 25 years that I just kind of just write it myself, but I do use the AI a little bit to kind of tweak it, when I need. But it's multiple ways that we can get out there and get the word out there. And, I think that if you find the right avenue you go down, or multiple avenues, you just take advantage of those and use each one to your advantage.
It's interesting.
So,
We're
Joe,
talking about AI, and you look around, and we're not the youngest guys in the industry anymore, and you wonder if the younger crowd is doing more AI because they've grown up with it more than we have, and maybe they can adapt to it easier. Anthony's extremely technical, so he can pick it up. But somebody like me who's fairly technical, it's a bit of a learning curve. And is that what's really keeping me from really diving in and getting to know this, or is it the fact that we're a small business and we have a lot to do, and I just don't have the time or the energy to put into it because I'm focusing on other things. So but maybe if I used AI, I'd have more time to focus on those other things.
yeah,
So
yeah.
catch 22, right? Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to jump in, and maybe if I had some Anthony's knowledge, it would allow
You're
me to.
welcome to call me. I'd be more than happy to
Well,
share it.
maybe you have to come over one day, and we'll have a little chat. We'll have some pizza.
Yeah.
You can get the dog, and get some AI programs running.
No,
Well,
absolutely. And
get
then
your AI policy in place first, Dave. I'm sorry. I got to be
absolutely, you
that.
need an
I
AI
got to be that
policy.
voice in the
That's
room. I'm sorry.
everybody should have an
So,
AI
Joe, you can
policy.
write
And
the policy first.
All right, the
We'll
policy.
have AI do it.
but
That's fine too.
about the
I like that. Let AI put together the
Let AI do
policy
it.
for AI.
But
No
the
controls.
LinkedIn
That's it.
post.
End of AI policy.
Joe, you're
Anything
saying,
goes.
for example, what we've been doing for the LinkedIn post is that I have a bot now that's just me. It knows me. It knows my writing style now, and so on. Because I say first thing I say is take the AI out of it. All right, it's got to be like what I would write normally, and then I'll look at it and
Right.
maybe tweak it. But usually good to go. The other thing we've been doing, which is really interesting, is that our website we've gone up hundreds of percentage points now in our SEO
Mhm.
dramatically. And that's because we've been talking to AI and having it help us make our website better so that it's more because way AI works is that it looks at your LinkedIn post, it looks at holistically everything out there, including your website. And what I've been finding is more and more people are using like ChatGPT to search for a company instead of Google. They're going into AI and asking, hey, what kind of computer companies are in Long Island? What we've done is talk to that AI and had it fix our social media and also our website so that it's AI friendly, can be read by AI, and then it can interpret and focus on our ideal client profile. All right. So now what's been happening is that we now can actually ask AI from a client's point of view is our website what they're looking for. All right. So I'm looking for attorneys, for example, attorney firms, accounting firms. So I could focus it based on if one of those clients are looking for us. And what he told us to do is create landing pages for each of those groups. So we've done that and we fine-tuned it. But it's been very helpful in that sense.
It's interesting you said that about searching for companies. I actually was doing that today. As some of, I know Joe knows, I don't know if Anthony knows, I'm a beekeeper. I have bees.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we are
I
for
want some
Earth.
honey.
Me
Well,
too.
that's our goal, right? So last year I didn't have any hives. I had lost them all the year before. So this year for Earth Day for pupfish, one of the things we're going to do is get my hives back up to shape, paint them,
Mhm.
and then bringing in some new bees first week in May. But one of the things you need to do with bees is a varroa treatment. And I was on ChatGPT today, just looking up what are the varroa treatments, what affects honey, what doesn't affect honey, what embeds in the wax, what is organic and won't do that. So yeah, I had ChatGPT help me make some of those decisions, and then went to do all the treatments. So it allowed me to do that research in about 15 minutes while I was eating a sandwich,
Mhm.
versus maybe spending hours looking things up at home trying to read through things.
Oh, it's great. And again, you're talking about security versus convenience and everything. It's so easy to use ChatGPT and tempted to put information in there about you got to be very careful. But I
Yeah.
mean, a couple of years back when ChatGPT first came out, I was playing with it and stuff, and I overheard my wife, this is a true story, talking to her sister about their brother who went home with food poisoning, and I'm listening and everything. And all I did is I heard the symptoms. He was dizzy, he was double digit, this. I threw it in ChatGPT, just the symptoms. All right, and said, what does this person have? Because they said he went home food poisoning. It says he was having a stroke. Send him to emergency immediately. So I turned to them. I said, maybe you want to have him checked out and everything. Bottom line is his son came over, his daughter came over and brought him to a hospital and he had a stroke.
Oh, wow.
I'm
Wow.
saying like, the uses for this are, and it growing
Wow.
exponentially. So
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things I do talk about is how the benefits of using it for in healthcare fields. I always say that it's for tax accountants. I think we're not going to have enough tax accountants in a few years that we're going to create a program that does tax accounting. Manufacturing, there's not enough people to be hired to work in the factories, so it's making the processes more efficient. It really does upon the learning and does make things more efficient and better for these businesses where if they can't find anybody to do the job for them.
Agreed.
Also, I was looking at one of the publications that I was following. So it says we talk about the AI agents, right? So it says to scale AI agents successfully, think of them like team members. Just like your human employees, each AI agent needs a role, a defined scope of authority, approved sources of truth, and clear escalation rules.
That's interesting.
Yeah, one came asking me, Megan asked me for a raise the other day.
And then she came at you with a knife, right?
Scary world.
That's definitely interesting. I actually heard about something similar before, using and position AI agents in organizational charts. So there is David,
Absolutely.
there is Anthony, there is Joe, there is Kevin, and there is also Megan, just like you mentioned, in the organizational chart, right? So we know where the Megan is the AI agent and the role.
Nobody wants to work under her though.
Yeah, no. See, I would think that there would be more in the process flows than the organization charts. That's probably where I think people have not gotten to the point where they make their process flows, which they should be doing, so they know where they can find the weaknesses, so they slap them into the organization charts. I think it's a lazy way to do it, not to but it's a lazy way to identify your bots.
Yeah, we had AI help us with the org chart, based on overall strengths and so on like that, who should be in what role.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I wasn't calling you lazy, but I mean, just I'm saying, but these process flows, at least you have processes, the process. Well, a lot of places just don't do it. So they just say, okay, this is what I'm using, and that's how it's going to be done, and who's going to replacing this person, rather than why don't you just fit it into where the process is, so that that it's going to hit the AI agent here, and then the decision trees start from there and go out.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have more and more AI agents coming in, and small business. This is something really like we just talk about small businesses in US, which is the backbone of US economy, and they can this can really be implemented for small businesses in that sense, utilizing it. For small businesses to implement or use these AI agents, where they should start from?
Start small.
Yeah.
Walk before you run. Be cautious. Have an AI policy in place. Understand things. Because 85% of the businesses out there are just dabbling right now. I was on the phone with one today. They're playing with it. It's a medical company. They're playing with it internally. I'm saying, playing. I don't like to hear the word playing. All right. Just what do you have in place? Nothing really. I said, all right, we have to talk. So Thursday is the date. I'm talking to them. But they need to have something in place first to understand how they're going to use it. Then they can play around. Some simple things are like, even I use something to record meetings, for example, and it summarizes them for me. If I'm doing a sales meeting, it tells me where I'm strong, where I'm weak. That's a good place to start, and the thing is, it's got to be a paid service. If it's free, you're the product. So you make sure that it's a paid one and check the security on it to make sure they're not sending that information out someplace, that they're internally giving it to you, and it's your information and so on, that they're giving it back to you. And then there's other softwares that you can utilize, like for example, one of the programs I'm using is HubSpot, which works out very well for contact management and so on. And it has some AI built into it too that allows us to click on a breeze, I think it's called now, and it just searches everything. It tells me where I'm at with that prospect and tells me what I should be doing next. It gives me a summary. So, that all helps.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost much at all. I'm using the free version of HubSpot, right? What you going to say, Dave?
Well, I've got a couple of things. First of all, for somebody for somebody who doesn't really use too much AI, I'm using ChatGPT because it is very general and, open. I'm not, putting any private information on there. What are some of these paid services I should be, is there a list, where it would give me some ideas of where to start? Because I probably have to go into ChatGPT and ask it, because I wouldn't know where to start to look for an AI service. And then the second thing is, you're using HubSpot. I'm using this great system called the Marvelous System, where it keeps track of all my clients and allows me to do all kinds of neat things in terms of posting to social media and tracking my interactions with my customers and setting up projects. So yeah, it's very helpful that way. And there's all kinds of neat things we can do with that.
Right. I agree. It starts small. Also, do your research. There are so many startups, so many AI companies that are popping up. Don't go for the latest and greatest flavor because someone put in your, do the research before you put anything in place. Make sure it fits the scale of your business and what you need. Don't go overboard. There are certain ones that will integrate with your systems better than others. But also, like I said, you have to have that security around it. If you're using a Microsoft environment, stay with the Copilot. And if you really need to have ChatGPT, use the paid subscription, and then just make sure that you are implementing the controls that around it, that you're not putting in private information, personal information. So it's really concerning to me how many just keep popping up. Everybody just wants to jump on the bandwagon. And they get in your ear and they try to sell you something because as soon as they build something, they're sending you emails. Check out this tool I've got. Let's have a sales pitch. So just be very careful of which ones you're choosing, and try to go for ones that really are established and you do your research on.
Yeah, and if you're not too sure and you don't know where to start, hire somebody to help you out. And look for somebody that can give you the advice at least. In my business, if anybody called me up and asked, I'd give them 15 minutes of free advice which direction to go.
Yeah, Anthony would be a great resource for that.
Yeah, because I'm just like, I don't want to see a business fail because they did something and they put it out there for AI, and suddenly now they got a lawsuit because there's PII that went out there, private identifying information, or it's just some trade secrets went out. All right, so we're trying to maintain the business integrity here in Long Island at least, and in order to do that, I'm willing to give advice where needed.
Well, everybody's got to call Anthony then.
Yeah, give me a call. I got nothing to do all day. I don't know. They got a bot doing it for me.
Yeah, exactly. Your bot will pick up and tell me you're busy.
And this is why we need to clone
I'll send
you.
Megan out.
Yes, thanks to Megan.
And this is why we need to clone you and not just make you a bot.
Well, in the American Business Podcast, we discuss about AI, and one of the subjects that we have been discussing about the impact of AI on next generation professionals, right? Especially entry-level jobs. So we hear it in the news, we read it in the news, and different media channels. So the new graduates having difficulty finding entry-level jobs. And also there is a massive shift in terms of choosing majors in the next generation.
Absolutely.
So they are staying away from computer science and other computer related degrees. They try to go to other degrees, other educational path in terms of for them to prepare themselves for the career path. How do you see the impact of AI on entry level jobs and career in general? And the next question will be, maybe we can combine these two. And how should next generation should prepare themselves for this change?
I'm going to start with this one because I have very strong feelings about the next generation, and even with cybersecurity and AI, we have to stop starting to teach them at the college level. It has to be taught in the high schools or even before that. I can't tell you how many career fairs I go to for high schools where they come to the table. They have no idea even what cybersecurity is. They don't know the definition. They don't know anything about it. And of course, AI is like in everybody's ear, but they don't even know what it is. Nobody's teaching it in the high schools. So when they're going to college, they're taking majors that maybe computer science, or they're taking now these new cybersecurity. Everybody has cybersecurity degrees. And honestly, I tell these high school kids not to do those. Maybe the computer science, if you really want to go into the IT world, fine. But I'm really looking at learn the stuff on YouTube, learn the stuff on AWS, learn the stuff on Udemy, learn everything you can for free, get certifications. If you want to go to college, get a little bit of a business degree to understand businesses in general. But everything that you need to know, you can learn on any of those channels. A lot of the professors in college, they're lifelong academics. They have not experienced this stuff in the real world. So you're just debating whether or not you're going to a $70,000 a year college or a $50,000 a year college, when either way, you're not getting the education that you're going to need to get a job entry level, because you're going to come out really not knowing anything anyways. So I'm a big proponent of getting them learning and having cybersecurity programs in the high schools, include the AI piece of that as well, having curriculum in there. And then having the guidance counselors also be retrained to understand that not every kid is adapted to go to college for a 4-year college, for a 2-year college, or the big colleges, because it has to be part of a blue ribbon award-winning high school. We really have to shift our minds this way. I mean, the same thing goes for plumbers and electricians. I mean, if a kid wants to be a plumber electrician, don't tell them they have to go to college for it. Send them to the programs to learn that stuff. There's not enough of those careers out there either. So there really has to be a different mind shift in education to get our kids excited and our students excited about going into these careers and really understanding what they are before they waste their money in college.
Yeah, I knew Joe was going to step up and talk about that, because he talks about it all the time, and I think we're kind of the same, thought. To me, the trades are so important. Learning how to weld, learning how to do electrical work, plumbing, whatever it is, it's such a necessary skill that I don't think we place enough positive emphasis on it here in the States. I'd like to see more emphasis go on that, because like Joe said, not everybody's built for that. I went through college and I never liked it. My mom always says she was so proud of me when I graduated with my master's, because she knew that I hated school from kindergarten, but I went through it because I wanted to be in finance, and we needed a degree to get into that at that point. And now I'm not in finance anymore, right? I'm running a company that does data destruction and e-recycling, which I think is better suited to me. So I think, it's a matter of what, pick something that you're suited to as a young person, and, develop your career development based on that, and whatever schooling or certification or trainings you need. That's really the most important, because it's a financial decision, right? As a finance person, you have to do the cost benefit. Like Joe said, are you going to spend $70,000 a year to get a degree and then come out and, work in my warehouse lifting stuff? You don't need a degree for that. So, that's really what you need to look at. And, I think AI may take away some of those lower level entry jobs, but I think it's also going to create other jobs that people will need to do to support AI and the functions around it. And, whatever improvements we see because of some of the great experiences and developments we have coming forward.
I think about my own past, how many times I pivoted my job and career, and all the different things I learned over the time, and how I'm fitting in right now very well with what's going on. I look at it, I think people are asking the wrong question, in the sense of like, hey, what job should I get? It's more than that. The better question really is, what capabilities do I need to build? What experiences do I need to get? Because one skill on its own today is basically a commodity. All right. And when you stack skills together, like, technology, business thinking, communication skills, that's where the leverage comes from. That's where you become valuable, no matter how the market shifts and what AI does. Because now I can look at things and look from a business standpoint, maybe communicate better. I'm basically stacking my capabilities, because I have a lot of different experiences. I can apply in different areas now. So I'm thinking when a kid asks me what job I should go into, it's not the job, more as packed what skills you need. Communication's key. Be able to speak and so on in front of groups. I think that's very important.
Yep, problem solving, analysis, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, when we think about how next generation can prepare themselves, these are important points that they need to think about. Also, it's shifting too. For example, in terms of picking the right career, and also if you are in a career, to understand you are in the right one, really, like being happy and being productive at the same time. One of our guests in the American Business Podcast, for example, he mentioned an important point. When you are working, if you feel like time really passes by so easily, that's a good sign. That means
Yeah.
like you don't feel like time is passing. It's just feels easy. It's not easy. You work on it. You work for it. But then at the same time, time passes by. That's the feeling.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think
That you
we've
get.
all had those kind of careers and jobs where we've worked at it and it feels like it just never ended. It just was the slowest day ever. I spent so many years in that mindset, and until I started shifting to the IT, information systems, and cybersecurity, and what I'm doing
Mhm.
now, I love what I do. I mean, I'm really free to give back to the community, like the things I've learned in my career, and to just not feel that stress of, hey, I got to get this done in this place, and because this corporation needs it, and because we got to get the 8K out, and I'm like, just like that's not for me. But I'm able to help small and mid-sized businesses, and use the skills I've learned from my business path. And I was an accounting and finance major, and now I'm doing cybersecurity. So go back to Dave's point. It's like, all right, I learned about business, but I learned about business more from working in the businesses than I did from the 4 years of college that I had. So it's really it's really a new experience for me, and I really enjoy going to work every day. And I used to talk about retiring, and now I'm like, I'm never retiring. I want to do this forever. I love what I
I'll
do.
retire after you.
All right, well, well,
I'm never retiring either.
all right, good. Listen, I'm just going to take up golf now because I want to go to more golf outings. Yeah, not that I want to retire and play golf. I want to go to more golf outings for work.
Mhm.
Yeah. So these are all important points that we need to think about in that sense. Well, okay, yeah, this is good. Well, today we talk about AI. We talk about the impact of AI in small business. Also, we talk about next generation. Is there anything that you like to share in this part of the roundtable discussion? Anything that you've seen in your
Parting
practices?
words,
Was that
right? Parting words.
parting words?
Yeah, our last words. Basically, I would just say anybody coming into this, kids graduating, everything's just be an infectious learner. All right, and try to do something that you're going to enjoy, and that's success.
Um, I would also kind of echo that students need to really figure out what they want to do before they get to college, and if they like stuff like this, try to learn on your own. And for businesses, for when you're using AI, don't jump in feet first. Do your research, um, put the controls in place. I know we've been talking about that over and over again, but it really is important. You don't want to put the cart before the horse, I always say, right? And that's what we seem to see a lot when it comes to small and mid-sized businesses, because they hear the buzzword and they want to jump on the bandwagon, and then something happens where they're just have a data breach, or they're exposing data, and they just they're doing things that they're not supposed to do. So just going carefully, and don't do your research before you get into anything like this.
And I'm going to touch on leadership because that's something you mentioned that we never got around to. And I think it's important for young people to, when they are looking for a position and they're looking to develop their careers, to find a good leader, somebody to follow. I still remember my first boss because he taught me some very valuable lessons about business and how to treat people. And he was a man of integrity. And to me, those are very important qualities. And it was, his his imprinting his values on me as a young person that I have now carried through my entire career. And there are days where, I'll be stuck on a problem and I'll think, okay, what would John have told me to do? How would he have challenged me to answer this question, 40 years ago? And, I kind of go back to some of the puzzles he gave me or some of the questions he asked me to solve a problem. And they help me today. So getting that leadership experience to help you later on in your career is very important, and they're lessons you'll carry through life.
Yeah.
These are. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
can I just add
Yes.
to that, Dave? Because that's a great point. I've had some horrible bosses and I've had some good bosses. The thing you also want to do is you want to take away those experiences, the positives and the negatives, because I've taken those horrible bosses and I've said, I'm never going to be that way. And I'm not that way. And then I've taken good experiences, whether it be from a boss or from even a retail job or a mall job. Hey, I've learned how to communicate with people. This is what I've taken away from this. I can talk to any type of person coming in with a bad mood, good mood, and things like that. So there's no job, big or small, that you're not going to learn a little something from that'll carry into your career.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good
These
point.
are great insights. Well, the 45 minutes just passed by. I think that's a good sign, right? So I didn't even
Yes.
notice how it passed
Barely
by.
felt.
So that's good.
Oh, we can
Well-
keep going.
Dave's got 5 seconds left. Dave,
So you leave me, right? 5 seconds at the end.
oh, you just gave it up. That's what you're done.
That was a great discussion as always. We should keep it going. These quarterly roundtable discussions are great, and our audience listeners, they love it too. So I'd like to thank you, Joe,
Thank you, Kevin.
Anthony, David. Thank you very much for
Thanks,
being with
Kevin.
us in the American
Thanks,
Business Podcast in the roundtable discussion. Appreciate it, and looking forward to the next one.
All right.
Very
Take care.
good. Same here.
Thank you very
Everyone
much.
have a great day.
Thank you, and to our audience and to our listeners, I hope you enjoyed today's roundtable discussion. I like it very much, as I always do. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back after a short break. Thank you very much.